So you may have seen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman, the representative from the Democratic Party, at the Met Gala. That's all over the place. And she's wearing a dress, probably a very expensive dress, with tax the rich on it. The tickets for this gala are about $35,000. But apparently, because she was wearing a particular dress by a designer, I think she didn't have to pay that $35,000. Mind you, I'm sure by this point, with her $100,000 speaking fees that she has been doing, she could probably afford to go and pay $35,000. And you can see this, how she's really one of them now. She's one of the elites. She's not really one of the public, if she ever was. But she keeps pretending that she is part of the public. She's one of us, kind of thing. And you know that George Carlin saying, "It's one big club and you ain't in it." Well, she is part of that one big club. And when I saw her in that dress, I thought, in many ways, it's sort of like thumbing the nose at people. It's like, here I am at this fancy, very expensive celebrity event, and I'm wearing this dress amongst all these rich people, and somehow that's supposed to be edgy. But there's nothing really edgy about it. It's just kind of making a mockery of the whole thing, because tax the rich my ass, really. She's not going to ever do that. They're never going to push for that. And she is going to be very, very wealthy one day. She's going to probably write a book. Who knows what her future holds, but she is on a trajectory where she's going to be very wealthy. Now, Danny Haiphong from the Left Lens Black Agenda Report wrote something, and he can say it a lot better than I, and it was about a statement about AOC's Met Gala appearance. And I've got something to say about Nina Turner in a second too, which is for me, it's not surprising, and I can't be disappointed about these very politicians. I mean, that's what they are. They're not our friends. They're politicians. And politicians behave like politicians ultimately, particularly if they want to be in the Democratic Party, where social movements go to die. Anyway, so Danny Haiphong wrote, I don't care that AOC went to the Met Gala. I don't care she wore an expensive dress. What I care about is the astroturfing of movements and the absorption of progressive and left politics into the Democratic Party. AOC and the squad are not leveraging their enormous base of support to demand the very thing she put on her dress. It would take a mere email and some outreach to get 1 million+ people to the Capitol to demonstrate, until progressive demands for higher taxes on the rich, a living wage, and end to wars, student debt, forgiveness, Medicare for all during a pandemic, etc. are met. Just about that, using her enormous email list. Bernie Sanders could have done that. He has an enormous email list too. He could have gotten everybody out to do general strikes. He could have he could have gotten people out to do things for Medicare for all. They don't use their enormous email lists for anything, except when they start to run again, which I see Bernie Sanders doing, even though he'll be really old then, but he'll do it. And then there'll be people getting behind him and rah, rah, rah. And I see AOC going to do the same thing. She will, if it's 2024 or beyond, she's going to run for president. And I can see David Sirota, who writes for the Daily Post, I can see him as her campaign manager or something like that. You can see these people they've got their eye on the prize, and in many ways, we people are sort of irrelevant, really. The public are kind of irrelevant. You're only there, and you're only good when it comes to asking for donations, because that's, in the end, pretending that I'm not taking money from corporations is the most important thing, isn't it? So these email lists are just sitting around waiting for when these politicians decide they're going to ask for money so they can say they're not taking any corporate money. I'm sorry to sound so cynical about all of this, but it's just sort of sad to see. It's sad to see people being led up the garden path over and over and over again. And as Danny Haiphong says, they're basically almost like controlled opposition, keeping people in the Democratic Party, keeping them, bound to pointlessness and a party that is helping destroy them, basically. So none of these people use their great followings to do anything real. And then they do these performative little things like, I mean, it's just I just find that the worst thing, seeing that dress with Tax the Rich at an incredibly wealthy event with a whole lot of incredibly wealthy celebrities. You know, I mean, it's just sad. So then he goes on to say, that's the discussion I want to have. I don't want to hear that she is, quote, closest to us, end quote, or that I'm being a crab in a barrel. No, I want to talk about how the Democratic Party is the war party and is the party of American exceptionalism beholden to corporate interests. We on the left don't expect Republicans to serve the interests of the ordinary people, yet millions of left-leaning people expect the Democratic Party to do exactly that. This kind of opportunism displayed by AOC only makes the process of exposing what the Democratic Party truly is that much more difficult. And that's exactly the thing. In this way, it is the Democratic Party that stands first and foremost between the people and the class and their class enemies. And it's past time we break the silence. Please support, and he goes on to say, please support my work dedicated to creating independent media that challenges the Democratic Party's stranglehold over the left. You know, that's I couldn't have said it better. And they are standing. The squad, in quotes, Bernie Sanders, if Tulsi Gabbard gets back into the ring again and is, you know, which I think she will, all these different people are obstacles, really. Real nonviolent grassroots movement that challenges what these politicians represent. I see these politicians as obstacles that are, you could almost say they're intentionally keeping people in and tied to this awful party, because they're, in many ways, all of them are really trying to save capitalism in the end. And they're trying to, and they're not really doing anything. They're actually soft imperialists at best. They don't really, they're not really that interested in seeing the ends of war. They make some sounds when they think that they should, and then the rest of the time they're putting out imperialist talking points. They're not really there to challenge anything. They're there to save capitalism, is what they are. And capitalism, as I keep saying, as Lenin said, is tied to imperialism, and fascism is capitalism in decay. And all these wars and the overthrowing of all these different countries, 50 plus since World War II by the CIA. The CIA is the invisible army of capitalism. So until we, sort of reject capitalism, we can't say we're really anti-imperialist, because it's all tied together. And until we reject capitalism, we're going to keep going forward to a completely full-on fascist. It's already got the 14 defining characteristics of fascism in the US, but we're going to go to full-on fascism at the trajectory that we're on right now. And these people, these politicians like AOC and the rest of the squad, Tulsi Gabbard, who is not a politician right now, but I'm sure she's going to be in the future again, they're all helping, keep everything the way it is, keep all the cups and plates on the table. That's what they're doing, really. That's how I see it. It's hard to pretend. It's hard to pretend now, particularly like, for example, Tulsi Gabbard. There are so many who were trying to, they're just completely, Robbie Martin used to call them toll cells, basically. She, I've talked about Tulsi Gabbard on this channel. She is pro-Israel. She was flying under the radar all that time, even though she gave a very, very powerful speech at Christians United for Israel, just full-on Zionist talking points. And in 2015, she never retracted what she said there. So she's full-on, pro-Zionist, pro-Israel. She's now demonstrating what a number of us knew a few years ago, is that she's an imperialist. On her Twitter, she put out this thing recently, which I'll play.
Aloha, everyone. You haven't heard much from me lately. I've been gone for the last 4 months, serving on an active duty tour and deployment to Africa as a civil affairs officer. I was supporting a special forces mission to go after Al-Qaeda affiliated jihadists. Now, every single day, it was truly my honor to work with incredible patriots, experienced, focused warriors with an unwavering commitment to serve our country. We should never forget that, no matter the decisions that the politicians make or the careerists in the Pentagon make, it is our men and women in uniform who selflessly and quietly defend the safety, security, and freedom of our country every day. Now, I haven't posted much since I was gone because I was asked not to talk about my going overseas until my mission was complete. Al-Qaeda is very active where we were, and as someone who has a high profile, I would have been a prime target for the enemy, putting my life and the lives of my fellow service members and our mission in greater danger. Now I look forward to discussing the foreign and domestic issues and challenges that we're facing in our country.
So basically she's saying she was assisting in, helping end terrorism in Africa. What the hell is she doing in Africa?
The purpose of AFRICOM is to use U.S. military power to impose U.S. control on African land, resources, and labor to service the needs of U.S. multinational corporations and the wealthy in the United States. Industries in the United States and in NATO countries largely depend on the raw materials that come from lesser developed countries. AFRICOM reports often indicate its responsibility is to ensure a steady stream of raw materials for corporations and to maintain unimpeded movements of goods through shipping channels. African countries rely on the export of their raw materials because many lack sufficient industrialization and are forced to reckon with the strength of multinational corporations. The unequal relationship benefits foreign capital. This dependency is an extension of colonial policies that impose major economic, political, or military decisions, leaving the masses of African people disempowered. And that's from the Black Alliance for Peace.
Africa overwatches a global crossroads with strategic choke points and sea lines of communication that are essential to global commerce and critical to U.S. operations in the world. Our future security, prosperity, and prosperity rest on this strategic access in times of crisis and ensuring these waters remain free, open, and secure.
What is the U.S. doing in Africa? It's all over Africa right now. Bases are everywhere in Africa. They're drone bombing people in Somalia. Look at the mess that Obama made of Libya. There's literal slavery in Libya now. I mean, she's basically an imperialist that went there to help soldiers. She keeps calling them warriors. I mean, if there was ever somebody who just loves the whole war culture, the whole military culture, it's Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, it's so clear. She keeps calling people warriors. She's always standing the military, how wonderful the military is, and then at the same time trying to make out like she's against war. You can't be an anti-war activist and be an active soldier right now, going into Africa of all places. I mean, and then helping them, get Al-Qaeda. I mean, this whole war on terrorism was just a big scam that they can always say, oh, look, ISIS is in this country, or al-Nusra is here, or Al-Qaeda is here. Oh no, the Taliban is making friends with this one or that one. Let's go back let's keep this Afghanistan occupation going. I mean, you can always find a reason to invade or drone bomb or whatever when you've got this war on terrorism. And Tulsi Gabbard has always pushed that war on terrorism thing, and she's just full-on Islamophobic. Some of the things she's been saying on Twitter just recently are just full-on Islamophobic stuff. And so all that, some of how she was, sort of courting Modi, who's a full-on fascist, a big Islamophobe, who's been oppressing Muslims terribly in India. I mean, you can see now that a lot of that was true. She's also transphobic. All these things that she was in the past that she denied being are, the mask is off now. I think if you scratch the surface a little bit, she's probably anti-gay too. She's probably homophobic. She said she used to be like that when she was young because of her upbringing. But I bet you if you scratch the surface, that's probably the case. These people are great performers. They're incredible actors. That's all I can say about them. I mean, AOC is an incredible actor. So is Tulsi Gabbard. And you could almost say, now I'm getting to Nina Turner. I mean, I know it's so easy to get seduced. It's so easy to get seduced by these people because they're very charismatic, right? And that's exactly the kind of people that the establishment needs, particularly the Democratic Party. They're exactly the kind of people the Democratic Party has to have this veneer of progressiveness. They have to have people like, say, AOC and the rest of the squad. They pull in Bernie Sanders when it's convenient, but they never ever do anything that he says that he wants them to do. When they do him over, like they've done him over twice in these elections, he doesn't call them out because he's tied to them. He's useless, really. He can say the only good thing that Bernie Sanders has really done is change the narrative and bring people's consciousness to the fact that there is an oligarchy that doesn't have their interest at heart. The corporations are running the show, that billionaires are running the show. There's very good narratives he's brought to people and helped raise consciousness, but that's where it ends. Then he pulls them along up the garden path, and all that energy is expended and wasted on useless parties like that, the Democratic Party, when it should be outside of this party. We should be organizing outside of the party in a class struggle, because that's what it is. Domestically, it's a class struggle all over the world. So anyway, Nina Turner has, unfortunately, she's going to be some sort of presenter on the Young Turks now. Of all the things that she could have gone with, to do that kind of thing, the Young Turks, which is just like MSNBC pretending to be progressive. See, it's so sad, because so many people have faith in this woman. They've sort of losing faith with AOC because she's continually demonstrating that she actually really doesn't want to fight for anything. It's just all yammering. It's all words, just words, fancy speeches that are really, really earnest. The earnest look she has on her face. But really, when push comes to shove, she's not going to force anybody to do anything. She's not going to force the vote. She's not really going to turn up even to a Medicare for All march, like what happened outside her office even. She's part of them now. People need to recognize she's part of them. She's part of the establishment. She's part of the Democratic Party. She is going to be the carrot that the Democratic Party use to keep people, thinking that they're progressive. And they will. I mean, you see it all the time. People going, oh, look at that edgy dress that AOC is wearing. Yes, look at that. Tax the rich. And people might say, oh, well, you've got some conversation now. But she could have done that outside of the Met Gala, couldn't she? Maybe she should have had Eat the Rich on it. That would have been funny. But one day she's going to be wealthy, really, really wealthy, and she'll just have a good old laugh. And she'll still believe that she's one of the people, probably, and still doing earnest speeches. She'll probably go around doing very, very expensive speeches, particularly if she's run for president. That will help her make more money as she goes around doing speeches. And she'll be sort of making out like she really cares about the people, and maybe she thinks she does. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in these people's head. I don't know how they sleep at night, seriously. I don't know if they're sociopaths or what. They don't seem to have any conscience. Anyway, but Nina Turner, joining the Young Turks. What the hell is that? You can't say that you're progressive when you're joining something that's just like MSNBC, except it's leading people astray. It pushes out imperialist talking points. It's slamming Julian Assange. And what is she doing on that program? It's all about this in the end. Anyway, so I don't know, put them all on a boat and push them out to sea. I'm sorry, but they are big obstacles, all of them, I think. All of them are just obstacles in the end. Anyway, I want to show you just a lovely little view that I have over here. In the end, it's really all about what we do ourselves, isn't it? Like the movement or the education or whatever, to try and wake people up that capitalism it's ecocidal. It is destroying people. It's destroying non-human animals, but we're also contributing to that, of course, by not being vegan. We have to stop looking to electoral politics and these figures that are being used to keep people in these dreadful parties. It has to be outside, and it also has to be on the ground. The best way to influence people is to do real day, everyday things like providing mutual aid to people when there's a crisis, when there's a disaster, also educating people at the same time about these issues, about capitalism and how it's destroying us. There are ways that we can do in real time, ways that we can influence and change people's hearts and minds. And I hate using that term because that's something they use in the military when they're occupying countries. But, you know, you can really change people's hearts and minds with real, on-the-ground, mutual aid type stuff, and on-the-ground organizing to, you know, for protests and to get people away from these dreadful, oppressive, imperialist, patriarchal, white supremacist parties. Let's just keep fighting and just don't put too much effort, if any effort, into electoral stuff, because, as that saying goes, if voting actually changed anything, it would be made illegal. And eventually, I see that every party that gets any sort of traction ends up being corrupted from within.